Hey everybody, welcome. This is Brown Girl Creating. I have changed my name. Just got a flash and needed to do that. So it's Brown Girl Creating from now on. So I happened to be scrolling through my feed and saw that Meg was doing her No Sew November again. I was really happy about that. So I decided to jump on the bandwagon. So I'm going to show you what I've done for the first 5 days of No Sew November. Now, once I finish showing you the prompts that I've done so far, I'll circle back and talk about how I created this No Sew journal. So let's open up and see what we've got. So we have the first prompt, which is first layer. And I decided to do a drawing of a tree, and I used a piece of like some kind of box, cardboard box, and I basically painted on the first layer. As you can see here, when I peel it back, that's the first layer of the box. So I just did a quick little simple painting using gouache paint. I didn't use anything fancy. I use this small kit that I have of gouache, and I used the paintbrush that's inside. I didn't do anything fancy, and created this cute little simple autumnal fall tree painting for first layer. So next, we're going to move on to day 2, which are paper scraps. So I have, I think, 1 big bag of paper scraps and 2 small bags. So I'm going to insert the bag that I looked in to get these scraps. I'm going to insert that right here. So I randomly chose the scraps and, tried to work with it the best that I could, and added some of the gold squares. This comes from a tea box. It's Mariage Frère. The inside of the boxes are gold, and I feel like that accents this collage. Okay, the next prompt was folded page. So what I did was I combined this one. I used the No Sew Journal November 2025 paper that you can get on Meg's channel if you're wanting to do this challenge. And then what I did was I used an origami page, and I created this cute little kind of vintage looking dress. I folded that, and then I added the little pearl there to make it look very cute in 1950s. So this was done with some origami classic Japanese paper, which is right here. It's called Mon Petit Art. I got this in a museum here in France. I think it was I want to say I was in Paris, and I think I was in, I'm not sure which one I was in. I was in one of those museums. And the museums in Paris always have really nice things in their shops. And so I picked this up, and it has a lot of interesting looking paper in this particular box. So as you can see here, yeah. All right, so that's what I did for folded page. Then the next one was recycled pieces. So for this one, I used this old vintage letter that's written in French that I got in a vintage pack. And then I used, for the background, let's see if I can show you, use these are all tea bags that I have opened and dried over a couple of months. And so they're all different colors because they've been soaked to different intensities. And what I did was I decided to use some of the more intensive ones. I glued it with this clear gesso. I'll show you here. I used this clear gesso to glue them to the paper. And then once they were dry, now it took a whole night and morning for the paper to dry because it was super wet and it just wasn't drying very quickly. And I don't have a hair dryer so that I can dry it, like a blow dryer to dry it. So I had to wait till the next day to add this, recycled letter, which is in French with the most beautiful handwriting ever. And so that's what I put on top. And that's what I used for recycled pieces. All right. The next thing was day 5, which is found words. Now for this one, I used a half a sheet of dictionary paper. But this came out of a vintage pack. So it's basically, I halved this sheet to do this part right here. I added some tea paper in the background here. And then what I did was I took a book. I have some old books here. So I have some old books. This is a book that was an advanced reader's copy. And what I do is I take a piece of tape like this and whoopsie. I put it onto the book like so. And then I rip it off. And I can get as big of a piece or as small of a piece. And then I just taped it on. So that's how I did found words. And this little bit down here at the bottom. Okay, now that's a whole situation. All right, the little bit at the bottom is an experiment that I did where I used a teaspoon of some runny clear glue. And I used a teaspoon, let's see if I have it here. Yeah, a teaspoon of dry tea. So this is my dried tea bag where I have dried a bunch of tea there. And I use a teaspoon of dried tea and a teaspoon of glue. I mix it up very well. And then I paint it onto a simple piece of paper. This is just a simple A4 piece of paper that was tea stained earlier, but you don't have to tea stain it. And I just painted it. And as I paint with it, what happens is that the tea starts to clump in places, and then you have to wait a whole 24 hours for this to dry. And when it dries really solidly. So if you look closely, you can see they're literally, it feels like big giant clumps because they really are. There's small ones and then there's big ones. Like this clump right here is very big. So I did this as a test to see what it would come out as. And I really enjoying using this texture. So I am slotted to do some more of these. And what I'll probably do is I'll do an example in a short video so you can see, how I go about this. But this has been fantastic using it as little peekaboo, parts in the journal because I've used it there and I used it here. You can see it sticking out here a little bit. So those are all of the things that I've done, the prompts that I've done so far, which are days 1 through 5. Next video will come out on the 10th or the 11th. I'm not sure. It'll depend on my work schedule, but I will come out with videos for days 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 to continue the challenge. Now, let's talk about the no-sew journal. So this is a no-sew journal that I did a few months ago, and I used a paper bag from the tea shop. I decided to keep that part of the bag showing for this particular no-sew journal. And I used the handles. I turned them into these little discs, which I have done a short on this, which I will see if I can link it in the description box. But I make like a little disc with the handles of the bag, and then I put it on the front to decorate. So this is a no-sew journal that has random pages in it. Some are tea stained, some are brown, some are white, some are beige. But the main thing is to show you what I did was the journal is being held together. So the pages are being held in by these two flaps. And that's what makes this one a no-sew journal. Now, I have done a video on how to make this no-sew journal. I will link that in the description box in case you're interested in doing a no-sew journal and you want to do it differently from the accordion style that a lot of people do. I think this is also an interesting style because it allows you to have a book, you know, with pages that turn as a, you know, a different type of no-sew journal. So that is all I have for you today. Comment, subscribe, like. I do appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing your comments. And I need to know, are you doing No-Sew November? If you are, please link below and tell me that you're doing it so that I can go and follow you and what you're doing for No-Sew November. So I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye-bye.